What's up everyone? Welcome to City Life Church. We want to welcome you today. Thank you so much for joining us. On behalf of Pastor Todd and Stephanie, my name is Raul. I'm part of the lead team here, and we want to thank you for joining us today on Sunday Online. One thing that we want to do is know who's worshiping with us. So would you mind taking out your device right now and taking a selfie? If you could take a selfie and tag us on social media at This Is City Life, we're going to choose one random person and we'll give them a $50 gift certificate to a local restaurant, and we'll announce the winner this time next week. So you got to tune in. All right. If you've been consistent here before and you've been here, you know that over the next hour and a bit, you're just going to get some amazing soul food. It's going to be so good for you. And if you're new, we want to thank you for joining us today. Can I encourage you just to get into the chat over there and just say, hey, good morning, I'm new, or something just like that. We've got some amazing hosts that would love to just greet you and say hi to you. They're going to do some sort of digital social distance, elbow bump some way just to welcome you, and we'd love to do that. If you're so bold though, can you press the connect button? We would love to get to know you a little bit more, and by doing that, we'll be able to get to know you and send you some resources as well. At any point today, we've also got a prayer team that would love the opportunity to pray for you, pray with you. At any point this morning, click on the prayer button and someone will contact you right away. Now, we also have been socially distant, but we're doubling down on being relationally committed. Did you know that during the week, there are many groups that we meet online? If you want to meet online and if you're interested in that, click on the connect button as well. Now, this church is such a great serving church. We've got such great opportunities to serve and be served. It is so great that even during this pandemic, did you know that City Life has been purchasing, donating, and delivering groceries to a number of people? We've been able to connect with those in need, and we've been blessing the healthcare workers and so much more. So it's been great to be part of that. Now, if we can serve you in any way, can we ask you to connect with us by our care team? Yeah, we would love that. Now, I'm talking to everyone that's listening right now. Can you just take a minute, just open your eyes, just take a look around. Who are the people in your world that you can bless by praying for, by helping out, by encouraging, whether it be a coworker, a neighbor, one of your family or friends? Who can you continue to pray for and just bless? So just keep your eyes out and open. Now, as we transition into worship, we would love for you to be an active participant. By doing that, can you use your whole body? Can you stand up? Can you worship with us? At the very least, we would love for you to sing. Just sing and just connect to God's heart and focus in on His love and His incredible love for you. Worship team, take it away.
Could not climb in desperation. salvation in your name, Jesus Christ, my living hope. And hallelujah, praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah, death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name, Jesus Christ, my
name of Jesus, oh, and death could not hold you. The veil tore before you. He silenced the boast of sin and grave. The heavens are roaring the praise of your glory. For you are raised to life again, and you have no rival, and you have no equal. Now and forever, God, you reign. And yours is the kingdom, yours is the glory, yours is the name above all names. What a powerful name it is! What a powerful name it is! The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a powerful name it is! Nothing can stand against. What a powerful name it is! The name of Jesus. And you have no rival, and you have no equal. Now and forever, God, you reign. And yours is the kingdom, yours is the glory, yours is the name above all names. What a powerful name it is! What a powerful name it is! The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a powerful name it is, and nothing can stand against. What a powerful name it is, the name of Jesus. What a powerful name it is, the name of Jesus. What a powerful name it is, the name of Jesus. Yes, Lord. Yes, Jesus.
Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly.
Well, good morning, everyone. Stephanie and I are so excited to tag team teach today. This is the first, I think, in a really long time that we've done this, but we've been practicing every Friday from our living room with the living room sessions that we've been doing. And I think we're ready to take it to the next level.
I think so.
We're ready to go. Thanks for being here with me today, honey.
My pleasure.
So glad. Hey, before we get going, I just wanted to take a quick minute and say, guys, we are thinking of you a lot. We're praying for you. I don't know about you, but there have been some really big ups and downs in this last season, hasn't there? I know last weekend I was feeling some just really low lows and just a lack of energy and just sort of a weightiness on me from just the routine that we're stuck in. And it was this thought that reminded me, that pulled me out of this funk, is that, man, there are so many people walking through this right now that care about me, that are thinking about me, that are praying for me. And I just want to thank you guys for being such a church that prays and encourages each other. It makes a difference to be going
It sure
through this
does.
together.
Yeah.
It's so good. So thanks for being there. And I want you to know we're there for you as you're walking
are,
through
yeah.
those seasons.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to going through the next couple of sessions on our SLWR series together, which will be very fun.
fun.
And by the way, how has the digital detox gone for you guys? For you, how's it gone?
Well, hey, why don't you tell us in one
Oh,
word
yes.
in the chat box right now? Let us know what it's like for you. For me, it was not too bad. We've done this before.
Yeah, we
I
have.
deleted my Instagram and Facebook apps off
Good
of my
job.
phone, so that made it easy.
I didn't.
But I missed Michael Scott, my workout buddy. I have grown to watch The Office as I've worked out in the day, and so I found I missed the laugh track in the background as I
Oh, you
was
sweat.
planking
Okay.
or something. So I'm looking forward to having Michael back. But it was good, and it was renewing and reminded
That's
me
good,
again
yeah.
of the importance of just
Yeah.
managing the digital consumption in my
Yeah,
life.
it's true.
Yeah.
I
What
like
about
that.
you?
Me. Actually, it was really good. I think that one thing that surprised me was the lack of missing any social media. I feel like it was easier than I thought it would be. I didn't actually care what I missed or any of that, which actually led to me feeling a little embarrassed about how much time I normally would spend on social
Yeah.
media, when I was like, I didn't actually care. I'm not missing anything, or it didn't feel like I was lacking. So
Yeah.
that was probably my biggest takeaway for the week. For
Perhaps
sure.
we should rename it, not social media, but social mania.
Yes,
We're just
I
all a
think
little
so.
too crazy.
Yeah, and I think
about
this helps
thing.
me realize
Yeah,
that.
it doesn't really deliver what it
No,
promises. huh?
it's so true.
Yeah.
I know Todd's talked a fair amount about our SLWRs, the journey to get there, and I just wanted to share a little bit about kind of our journey together and my journey in the SLWR series and how we kind of landed here. For me, I would say it was probably about a year ago, last May, where I got to this point where I was like, I just felt like I hit a wall. I was just frustrated with everything, to put it that way, which is nothing
Yeah, you
was fun.
were.
I don't think I was very pleasant to live with, honestly. I think everything just felt weighty. The things I normally would say I enjoy or bring me life, they felt like something I had to do, and I was frustrated with it. The things that I love to do just would get my leftovers after work and the things that need to be done, and it really got to the point where it was just this sharp realization that this was all wrong. I don't want to live life living like my things that I think are most important get the leftovers of me, that I
so
can't
good.
give my
So
attention and my
good.
time to my family in my full mind and my full heart, or to the church and those things. And so it was really that kind of spurred me on to this journey. It's like, I need to realign a lot of things in my life, because this is not going to sustain very long. And that probably brought us to the fall, and it was just learning and readjusting, and little by little, and it was it's been really good for me.
Yeah, I know for
Mm-hmm.
me, on a parallel but different path, I had spent some time just talking to God last spring about just some disappointments in my heart, and reconciling the reality that for years we had just been pushing and pushing and pushing and loving this press of pioneering a new life-giving church, and still, even in that season, loving it, but feeling tired, and in some ways like the expectations I had not been realized. And God was taking me through this process where he was teaching me some things about my perception about who he was and what he promises. I think sometimes we think, man, God, if we behave a certain way, then that guarantees a particular outcome. And God was reshaping my thinking that I'm responsible for obedience and he's responsible for outcome. And it led me into this path of thinking I'm striving and pushing, I'm exhausted and tired, and I'm not seeing the results that I want to see. Perhaps part of it has less to do with God wanting to bless the work and the effort of my hands, and me not living a lifestyle that is aligned to what he says he blesses. And so that really has led us on this journey of reading, of learning, of discovering, of saying there has to be a better way to
yeah.
live.
And I think all of us, the circumstances and the details will be different than ours, but I think all of us can resonate with that feeling of like we can come to the end of ourselves, and we've
Yeah,
done
for sure.
all that we can do to push and strive, but we still keep going over and over again. And we just
Yeah.
really want to look at a little bit of why do we do that? Why is that something that we get in the habit of doing over and over and over again?
Yeah, I think the reason for that is that we're all driven by this desire. We all have this innate desire. Desires drive us, and that's not always bad. We have desires for purpose. We have desires to feel fulfilled, relational desires. We also have desires to find success. Many of us are pursuing the desire to be financially secure or prosperous or attain a certain level of position or influence. And there's nothing wrong with desires that motivate us, but when desires that are meant to motivate start consuming and controlling us, we get into a place where our lives are out of balance. And I think that was probably what was starting to happen with us.
Right, yeah,
and that
for
God
sure.
needed to course correct. And I think that for all of us, from time to time, we can find ourselves in that
Yeah,
trap.
for sure. Thomas Aquinas had this great question. He says, "What would it take to satisfy our desire? What would it take?" His answer to that was he came to the conclusion that it was everything. So that nothing until you had everything would ever satisfy.
Right.
And I think like a super juvenile example of that would be like our kids, is they always want the next Switch game, and
Right.
if we gave them every single Switch game and we bought them every single video console
Yeah.
and we gave them all the time in the world to play on it,
Totally.
they would never be satisfied. They'd always want something more.
They'd find something more.
Yes, and I think even in our adult lives, it's so easy. We're just trying to get the next thing, and we want more, and we want more, but we always end up feeling like it's not satisfying. It doesn't hit the mark.
Totally. When I was a kid, I am almost humiliated to tell this story, but I was a kid when the Care Bear craze first hit the world, and I so badly wanted a Care Bear. I don't know if I was 5 or 7 or 9 or 15, probably not 15, but I remember so badly wanting a Care Bear, and it was Christmas coming up, and I was begging my parents, and they would say, "Todd, we know you. This is a dumb gift. Like, you don't want this. They're so overpriced. It's just a stupid stuffed animal." I wanted it so bad, I just got hooked in, and I begged them, and they said, "Well, listen, if you get this Care Bear, it's the only thing you're gonna get this Christmas." And I said, "I don't care. I just want this Care Bear." And so that Christmas morning, I remember my brothers were opening up their Transformers and their G.I. Joe and, the underwear from Grandma and all the stuff. And I remember we got to me and I opened it and I got the Care Bear. And I was so pumped for the Care Bear. And I remember like a few hours later, sitting in the landing, it was Christmas Day afternoon, playing with my Care Bear. My brothers were off playing with their cool stuff. And I remember looking at this and saying, "This is the stupidest thing I have ever asked for." It didn't even last a day, is my point. Like, our desires just swallow us up, and my desire for this thing got into the driver's seat of my life. It wasn't the motivator, but it took over, and it messed me up that Christmas. I'm still missing out on whatever good my brothers got that Christmas.
True. Our desires really are bottomless, right?
Yeah, so
It
good.
never ends. It's like the French fries at Red Robin. They really just keep coming and keep coming. You want more. And it doesn't end well. You do feel
Never.
regretful and lethargic after it, but it really is is bottomless. It won't ever be satisfied.
Right. Well, yes, I will have that 7th basket of Red Robin fries, and then you put the seasoning
always a bad
salt, and
idea.
it's a bad idea. And I think if you think about your desire for a minute, it's desire that drives us, that bottomless desire that's never satisfied in us with stuff and acquiring things. It drives us to buy that one more new shirt, or to pursue that one more degree, or to download that one more song, or watch that one more episode, or to take that one more meeting and struggle and strive to find some sort of sense of fulfillment that never really fully satisfies. And you add that to this moment that we're living in right now, this digital age where advertising is intentionally monetizing your restlessness. I mean, come on, how many times have you searched for something on Amazon and 3 minutes later you're being advertised on Instagram and all over your social media feeds, and they know they're monetizing your restlessness. And then you add the social media mania to it all, and we just have this constant constant desire that's bottomless. It's causing us to consume and crave and want, and it's never satisfied.
So like Todd said, the result of our bottomless desire really is that restlessness.
Yeah.
St. Augustine said, "You have made us for yourself, and our heart is restless until it rests in you."
Wow.
The interesting thing about this, it was written at the fall of the Roman Empire. So this grand experiment of affluence, world conquest, and power, and still there's this restlessness that was never satisfied.
Yeah.
And why is our desire bottomless? It is because we were designed to find our full identity and delight in a relationship with Jesus. So we are created to strive for that, but it's never fully satisfied unless it's in Jesus.
Yeah. So I really think right now, City Life Church, we have a moment and an important question to ask ourselves in this series. And it says, as apprentices of Jesus, what do we do with our restlessness and our desire? Do we do what so many around us do? Do we just run after this as our reality and we join in the throngs of people that are just constantly trying to satisfy that desire only to have it magnified? You know what? Lots of people do. And if I can be really honest, a lot of us here in church, I'm not talking about outside the walls of the church or the community of the church. I'm saying in our hearts and in our lives, if we were really honest, we would say we're running after a lot of the same things. And we have that as an option. We can do that. But if we do, I'd like to suggest to you, you're probably going to end up a lot similar to what Stephanie and I were feeling around this time last year. Or we can choose a different path. We can reorient desires' focus back toward God and make all our other desires subservient to that. Because here's what we want you to know today. If you take anything away from this morning, it's this. It's that we were made for more than work. We were made for more than work. Just say that to yourself wherever you're sitting. I was made for more than work. God has a better plan for you than just to strive and pursue all of those desires and try to achieve and build bigger houses and get better cars and get all of this stuff. It's not going to bring satisfaction. So what will? That's what we want to talk about these next few weeks.
Yeah, so over the next few weeks, Todd and I are going to be talking about one key practice that really has for us been reshaping our purpose. It's been bringing rest to our souls, and it's just been helping us reorient our lives, and that would be the practice of Sabbath. So before we talk too much about it, I just want to ask if we can all, for 1 second, lay aside any preconceived ideas, any emotions or memories or any thoughts about what the Sabbath is or should be, and let's just lay it aside. And we're going to take some time and look at Scripture and look at the heart of what God always intended for Sabbath to be for us, with like fresh eyes and fresh hearts.
Yeah, so good. And I'm so glad that the Lord gives us the Bible, that we have the Bible as a textbook for life. We don't have to make up solutions in our own intellect or our own understanding. God actually provides them for us. And this idea of Sabbath, this principle of living not to constantly be working and consuming and acquiring, it actually is littered all throughout the Bible from beginning to the end. In fact, in the first book of the Bible, in Genesis chapter 2 and verse 2 and 3, it says this, "And on the seventh day, God finished his work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work that he had done. So God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it God rested." So here we see that God establishes this principle, this idea of Sabbath right from the very beginning. Now, think about this for a second. He had just spent 6 days creating. On the sixth day, he created what he would call, and scholars would call, the crown of his creation, you and I, humanity. And there's something really unique about humanity. He said that when he made us, it was very good. And here's how he made us. He shaped us from dirt, and then he breathed his breath in us. That we were, as human beings, created in this weird, unique reality that we are part God, made in the image of God, and part dirt, made in the image of this planet planet, that we are dust and we are spirit, that we are supernatural and we are natural, that we are limitless in his spirit and we are limited in our strength. And the point of this is that right after he created us as these beings with so much potential and yet built-in limitation, he, as a very first practice, modeled to us the principle, not of work, but of rest. Of rest. The very first day these humans walked planet Earth in that garden called Eden, God said, let me show you, we're going to start with rest. And I think that's significant from us. Rest from the work of creation to begin understanding we were made for more than work.
As we say God rested, it's important to ask the question why, because we know God doesn't need rest. He's limitless. He's
Right.
infinite. He wasn't tired from a long day's work. But what he was doing was really modeling for us a way that we can live our lives. He was showing us how we can orient our work life and our rest together. And as we look at that, we are reminded that we work hard for 6 days with
Right.
what God has given us to do. But then we do take a rest from it. And in that, we are trusting God and we are saying, you need to bless the work that we do also. And it really does serve to remind us that we were made for more than work.
Right, right. That word Sabbath that we've talked about, it comes from the Hebrew word Shabbat, and it literally means to stop. It means stop working, stop worrying, stop running after things, trying to achieve, trying to consume, trying to push and press. It means stop. Isn't that a beautiful thought? That God designed you with a regular rhythm, a regular routine to stop and to rest. Imagine for a second what the implications that would have on your soul if you were to embrace that principle in your life. Now, we fast forward a few thousand years, and we're going to look in Jesus' life and his comments on the Sabbath in just a moment. But, just as God's people have done in so many other areas, God's people took what God intended to be this beautiful invitation to a rhythm and routine of life, and they turned it into this lifeless, legalistic thing over thousands of years as God established the nation of Israel and his people and brought the principle of Sabbath in, and they turned it into this very rigid thing. Enter Jesus on the scene and his commentary on the Sabbath.
In Mark 2:23-27, it says, one Sabbath, he was going through the grain fields, and as they made their way, his disciples began to pluck heads of grain. And the Pharisees were saying to him, look, why are they doing what is not lawful on the Sabbath? And he said to them, have you never read what David did when he was in need and was hungry, he and those who were with him, how he entered the house of God in the time of Abiathar the high priest and ate the bread of the presence, which is not lawful for any but the priests to eat, and also gave it to those who were with him. And he said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. And I think that there, sorry, were you going to say something?
No.
I thought you had something to say.
It's so good, that principle right there. The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath.
Right. And so we see here that Jesus he restores the Sabbath. Jesus made Sabbath a regular practice in his ministry and in his life, but it actually looked very different from what the religious leaders of the time taught and lived.
Right.
Their context was it was very heavy, it was weighty, it was guilt-laden. They actually took what God had created and added exponential amounts of rules to it. And so they made it something that was not a day of rest anymore, but it was a day of rules. And they had actually become so entrenched in the idea of what Sabbath was and how it defined holiness as God's people, that when Jesus didn't follow their legalistic ideas, that's what made them want to kill him, actually. And so the people at that time really needed to hear man was not made for the Sabbath.
Right. Now, you switch 2,000 years later to our day, and I actually think we need to hear the opposite. The Sabbath was made for man. It's an invitation. It's an opportunity. It's not an obligation that God puts on us, but it is this principle that Jesus practiced throughout his life. Now, we've taken Jesus' words to mean in some ways that we can just excuse ourselves from the Sabbath. Well, the Sabbath was not made for man. Man was made for the Sabbath, so I can do with it whatever I want. But listen, I'd like to confront and challenge maybe your ideology around that, or maybe even your lack of even considering the implications of this. Listen to A.J. Swoboda talking about the Sabbath. He says, the Sabbath has largely been forgotten by the church, which has uncritically mimicked the rhythms of the industrial and success-obsessed West. Maybe you can relate with that or identify with that. The result, our road-weary, exhausted churches have largely failed to integrate Sabbath into their lives as vital elements of Christian discipleship. It is not as though we do not love God. We love God deeply. We just do not know how to sit with him anymore. Let that just sink in for a moment. We have become perhaps the most emotionally exhausted, psychologically overworked, spiritually malnourished people in history. Does that resonate with you this morning? Do you feel the weight of that in your heart? Even in this time of self-isolation where things have slowed down, are you exhausted? Are you tired? Are you worn out? Can you hear the invitation of Jesus from Matthew chapter 11? Come to me. Let me show you a better way. Let me give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and let me teach you a new way to approach life. Later on in the New Testament, Paul is instructing the church in the city of Colossae. He says this in Colossians 2:16. So don't let anyone condemn you for what you eat or drink, or for not celebrating certain holy days or new moon ceremonies or Sabbath. See, Paul's here saying, listen, we're not trying to obligate you. We're trying to invite you into something amazing. See, I think Sabbath could possibly be our greatest gift, a weekly invitation as apprentices of Jesus where we find rest, abiding rest and renewal for our souls. We find delight and joy. And I think for many of us, myself included, we have given it up in the name of ambition, striving, and achieving success in our own strength. And God longs to work on our behalf, and we've not given him space and place to do that. John Mark Comer says this: it's not a legalistic hangover from some fundamental shtick, but a practice from the way of Jesus, a delivery system for life. See, even a whole 24-hour period a day isn't the point. A particular day of the week isn't the point. The point is that we find rest, we stop, and we delight in who God is. I love that the church has moved the Sabbath, which in the Jewish tradition was on the seventh day to commemorate God's resting on creation, to the first day commemorating the resurrection of God, of Jesus. And I think one of the things that I was thinking about that is so amazing is that for 7 days we worked in that old covenant, and then we finally rested. We earned a day of rest. But in the new covenant, in relationship with God, it's turned the other way around. We don't work for what rest, we work from rest. The Sabbath for us is an invitation to remember the miracle of God's transforming power in our life, his grace towards you and I, that we start with rest. We start with grace, with embracing his love. And it's the fuel that takes us through those next 6 days of work, and work as unto the Lord.
There is still all kinds of debate whether or not we now need to keep a Sabbath. I would say it's our personal conviction that it is something that we do still need to do. Firstly, it's one of the 10 commandments, so we don't disregard the others and say that one's okay to leave behind, but we'll keep the others. And also, really importantly, that Jesus doesn't annul it. He actually restores it when he was here on earth. So regardless of those, though, it really isn't our intention to make it an obligation or something that is a theological demand that our church has. But what we really want to do is make it an invitation to say we practice the Sabbath not because we have to, but because we want to.
That's right. It makes us better, you guys. It's made our marriage better.
I agree.
It's made our family better. And can I suggest it's made our church better as a result? We're healthier, wholer people than we were this time last year. And it's a result of embracing this time-honored, timeless, really, tradition that God modeled right from the beginning days of the Bible and creation to the present day. It's interesting to me that as we started to embrace this principle, God started to grow our church in an exponential way. It was at this time last fall that we started to see this quantitative growth in our church. And the only thing I really can attribute it to is that we stopped working 7 days a week for it. We were moving forward in a sense of restfulness, and God was blessing in the 6 days of our work what we could not accomplish in the 7.
In our experience, it hasn't been a simple thing to do.
No, that's true.
It's, like we've said before, a Sabbath is a verb. It's actually something we have to choose to do.
Right.
As much as it is restful and a delight, it also is a discipline, and a discipline that I think we are unlearning decades worth of mindsets and relearning how to do that. And so it has become our favorite day of the week. And sometimes we do great, and sometimes we're like, that wasn't really a very good Sabbath. But it is something that we are learning and have built in as a discipline in our lives. But I would say, even when sometimes it feels like work to rest, Sabbath really has become our favorite day of the week. It gives us permission to take a day to dream, to slow down. We put aside the phones, the text messages, the emails, just the thoughts and the worries and the striving. And it really just lets us kind of be. We can be with God, we can be with each other, we can be with our children.
And we can enjoy a day. It's beautiful. We can't wait to talk to you more about it in the future. Listen, let me ask you a question. When is the last time you actually gave yourself permission like that? Like permission to really rest? Much less do it consistently, not just carry all the weight of worry on your shoulders. Let me ask you this, husbands, when would your wives say was the last time you took that time? When would your kids say it was the last time you were fully present, rested, and enjoying the fruitfulness of your life? When did you stop for long enough to find genuine delight in God? See, Sabbath is more than just a day off. Sabbath is about a whole different outlook on your whole week.
It's not something how we define how we spend our day off, but it really is an outlook of how we live our whole life, how we worship, how we rest, how we play, how we work. Walter Brueggemann says, people who keep Sabbath live all 7 days differently. So it is a reminder that we were made for more than work, and it's not just a day off, it's how we see and orient our whole life.
Yeah, absolutely.
As we end here today, perhaps you feel like your life is out of control, like you relate to my story, Todd's story. Maybe you're so driven by your bottomless desires, like we all are in different seasons, and even things like your faith and the things that you enjoy feel obligatory. They feel like have-tos and things you just have to check off a list. Could it be that it is time to reorient our lives, to look at these things differently?
You were made for more than work.
We've been reading from the Message Bible, Matthew 11:28-30, and I'm going to read it again here. Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me, get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. The invitation to Sabbath is an invitation to stop and to rest and trust.
This morning, I want to ask you for a moment to imagine with me what it would look like if a community of faith, of a group of apprentices of Jesus, were to embrace this idea of Sabbath. What would it look like? How would it affect your marriage? How would it affect your family? How would it affect our relationships with each other if we gave ourselves permission to cease from the 7-day striving that we've all become so oriented around and truly rest and find delight in Jesus? It's a whole new way of living. I believe it also is a whole new way of telling the story of Jesus, of modeling to our neighbors and our friends and our families an orientation and an attitude towards life that is so desperately needed in this cultural moment, that full of the city that strives after achieving and consuming and acquiring, to say, listen, we're going to stop. We're going to Shabbat. We're going to Sabbath and rest and give God the work of our hands for a moment and trust that he's going to bless it in 6 days more than we could make it achieve any sort of success in 7.
This coming week, we're excited to look into this practice a little bit more and talk about some practicals as well on Friday for our living room sessions at 12:12. We actually have our friend Bonnie Pugh who's going to be joining us and talking about how this looks for her family and for her and kind of her journey of how she got to practicing Sabbath. She actually was the catalyst for me to look into it, actually.
Yeah,
So we're
we
excited
started this conversation.
because of her, yeah.
Hesitantly, I would say.
I was
went a little
excited. He was a
kicking and
little
screaming
bit.
at the beginning, just being
True.
real.
And then next Sunday, we're going to break down a little bit more of the practicals again, talk about what it looks like for our family, and also just some of the reasons why Sabbath is so important culturally and for us personally.
So come along on this journey
Yeah.
with us, church. I believe this has the potential to bring life in a new way to your soul, to our community, and to be an overflowing source of joy for us. Listen, as we wrap up today, I just want to say we aren't producing a digital download for this week. We're going to give you a lot of content the following week as we invite you to prepare and consider what a Sabbath might look like for you. But this week, can I encourage you just to consider if maybe you'd be open to the idea of stopping? Maybe it'll just be for a little part of a day, maybe a 24-hour period. I'm not going to put any sort of imposition on you. We'll invite you to explore that prayerfully. But would you this week just say, God, open my heart to consider that maybe there's something here that's more than just lifeless religion or legalism. Maybe there's a principle of life and a cycle and a rhythm to life that I need to adapt to. Before we close today and turn it over to Raul to wrap up our church online experience this morning, I just want to give invitation to anyone who's there listening in whatever living room, as you're working out, whatever it might be, and you've never made a decision personally to come into a personal relationship with Jesus, to commit your life to Jesus. Listen, right now in the chat box, there's a little opportunity there for you to say, hey, listen, I want to commit my life to Jesus. If you're here today and you want to begin a relationship with Jesus, would you click on that button really quickly right now? Listen, the Bible says that all of us are born with this innate need for relationship with God, and all of us, because of our lack of perfection, have been separated from God. And in God's generosity, He didn't expect us to go the distance to make up that lack. He sent His Son, Jesus, who lived a perfect life, who died a brutal death and was supernaturally resurrected. And in that journey, paid in full the penalty for all of the imperfection. The Bible calls it sin in our lives. Friend, if you want to begin a relationship with God, if you want to start today brand new, would you join me and pray this prayer after me? The Bible says if you pray this and mean it from your heart and confess it with your mouth, you begin a brand new relationship with Jesus today. Pray after me this morning. Say, Jesus, thank you for your life, for your death, for your resurrection. Forgive me, make me brand new, come into my life, and teach me to live the way you designed me to. Friend, if you prayed that with sincerity and you meant it in your heart, listen, all over this city right now, there are city lifers that are cheering you down. They're yelling rambunctiously. They're just making they're waking up their roommates. They're stirring up all kinds of rowdiness because, man, it says that in heaven, there's a party that's thrown every time someone makes this decision. And we celebrate that with you this morning. God bless you. We'll turn it over to you, Raul.
If you committed to follow Jesus today, can we just celebrate with you? That is the best decision that you'll ever make in your life. And we at City Life Church, we always applaud. Woo! Good job, good on you. And we want to continue to celebrate with you by connecting with you and giving you some resources. So if that was you and you committed to following Jesus, can you click on the connect button? There are some great resources that we want to give to you in this new life that you have and this new relationship that you have with Jesus. So we would love to do that for you. Now, as we sort of wrap up, we want to ask you and invite you to continue worshiping God through your giving. It is such a great and amazing privilege just to see how God has been providing through this church. And I want to thank you for those of you who continue to give during this time, that you're committed to the vision and mission of this church. Now, as you are faithful to God, He is faithful to you, and He continues to provide you with everything that you need personally. And your money, it's just like what the Bible says. If you plant that seed into the ground, it grows into this harvest. And so that money, it continues to get sown into the city, into this nation, and literally in the world. So that has been amazing, and I want to thank you for that. Now, this is the last time that you can have an opportunity to have someone pray for you. So click on the prayer button if you would love to get some prayer. And this is the last time. If you haven't clicked at all, I'm asking you to click right now. There's going to be a live Zoom lobby where everyone's going to be going. It is the after party to the party. So please go and connect with someone, share some laughs, have a conversation. So do it right now. I know, I see you. You're on that couch and you haven't clicked at all. Please just click on that button and meet someone new. It is fantastic. It is amazing. Once again, I want to thank you so much for coming out. It has been great worshiping with you and learning with you. And again, I want to see you next week. Tag us at This Is City Life for that $50 gift certificate for that one lucky person. And that's it. I'm out. Have a great week. Mic drop.